wife thinks so. It's gospel.
But you wanted to
Good
ask,
stuff.
didn't you want to ask a question about how the two of them, Tom and Bob, bounced information off of one another? How did you
Yeah,
what was that?
I'd asked Tom this question a while back. It was at one of the luncheons, and it was very interesting. And what I asked you is, what was the dynamic, your working relationship between each other with regard to the ideas and the development? What was the interplay of you guys as friends and as also personalities, and where your talents intermeshed?
It was an excellent. Skinner and I could really communicate well and work on a problem together. Better than anybody I ever worked with, ever. And he's got a way different way of looking at things than I do.
And that's why
what made it really
the
work.
story about the car, to show you how different they were. That's what's so good about that.
Anyway, it really worked out well because he has a completely different viewpoint on the world than I do. And anyway, he was absolutely 50% of what made that work. Absolutely 50. I mean, and he's brilliant in a way that you can't really put your finger on it. He's not like, oh, that guy I used to go to school with. He's not like any of those people. He's different.
Mm-hmm.
Way different. And just brilliant,
Wonderfully different.
You were sounding blocks for each other as a process?
Like say, I'm going to school all day, right? And so he's working at Shelby's all day in this era. And so at night, we're working on the car, just doing our work, and didn't require very much thought. So I would condense everything that I learned that day in school and just run it by him, or the interesting parts, right? I'd condense it and run it by him just for some stimulation, and just for me, if I can take something that I've learned and condense it down and explain it to you, then I know it better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? That kind of
Absolutely.
deal. And anyway, and then he'd tell me about the stuff that happened at Shelby's, and they were doing some really creative stuff down there at the time. Skinner was the #2 guy in the machine shop. Anyway, so we talk about that kind of stuff, and of course get all our work done. And then people would come by, and the Red Apple was more like a social situation.
Any alcohol involved?
No.
No wine or the occasional beer?
Coca-Cola.
Sounds like the
ROC Cola.
the perfect opportunity.
RC Cola and the moon pie.
No.
Didn't even have a refrigerator?
No, we didn't, because we were there to work.
Oh.
We tried to
Wow.
that.
Yeah, there you go.
If you come visit, bring your own.
Yeah, that's right.
We're busy.
Anyway, and then people would show up, and you go have coffee or go give them a snack or something before you go home.
But while you're telling him about your learned day, and he's telling you, did things to do to the car come out of that? Like, here's what they're doing at Shelby's. Oh, I wonder if we could. And then he would say, no, that's not going to work. Or, let's try that. Or was that separate? Then you'd look at the car and go, okay, what are we going to do this week? And make that a different story.
Well, obviously all of that stuff would blend together. I mean, if we could take an idea that came from wherever and use it where we were on it. But most of our day-to-day deal was just work. Getting the car done, you got to take it apart, inspect everything real closely.
Put it all back together.
It didn't require very much discussion. And then anything new, some new ideas that he had or I had, we would discuss those as we.
Well, now we're back to Fontana, so it must be daylights. Because the Operation Big Switch at Drag City this weekend and begin the winter schedule November 21st to daylights. So the surfers the competition started at 2 p.m. just after a driver's meeting was held in the line with starter Tom Flenniken. Now, I never heard of that name before. It was his brother drove a dragster, and he was the starter at Fontana. The other Sutherland, not Paul Sutherland, but there was the other, so I'll come up with a name. So the surfers took Scotty's muffler with a strong 194 and 779. So Round 2 of the top was over in a big hurry as the 8 remaining cars wasted no time in seeing who could get there first. 8:14, 200 miles an hour. Mike Sorokin closed out round 2 with an odd lot single after Crosley and Williams were unable to make it back due to mechanical woes. So some of your luck's rubbing off. Round 3, Lefty Mutersbaugh and the Surfers. Skinner Joe Schroeder. Lefty was pulling a tall gear this week, and his ETs were not quite up to snuff, including an 802 at this race. The Surfers were good for a 783 and put them one step closer to the money. Uh-oh. But now we have Broussard, Davis, and Garrison. Uh-oh, we're in trouble now.
We're in trouble.
The team of Broussard, Davis, and Garrison were giving Danny Ongeist all kinds of horsepower to play with, and against Don Prudhomme, he used every bit of it, 200 miles an hour and 772. You guys are in trouble. So it's, as it turned out, the win for Ongeist proved to be an expensive one as the engine suffered some internal problems. An attempt to repair the car was made, but on the final round for top, driver Ongeist was forced to kill the engine at the line, leaving Skinner, Job, and Sorokin to go it alone for the 750.
750.
$750, 195, and 794. Made the 3 young men quite happy. There will be more where that came from next week, fellas. So come on back.
Well, that car, that Broussard, Davis, and
Mangler?
The Mangler.
it's called the Mangler.
Yeah,
Boy,
bad.
When,
That's bad.
when
That's
you had to
good
race
bad.
those guys, you were in trouble. One thing that saved us over and over was the reliability.
Yeah.
Some people would change their tune-up depending on who they were racing, and we just left it alone no matter. I mean, we would stick to our plan, what we were doing,
Right.
and we didn't worry about this. You either win or you lose. No big deal.
Hmm.
And it really worked out good because you don't blow your stuff up. Well, we got to have it so we couldn't blow our stuff up. There was nothing you could do to blow it up. It would just quit. For everybody else, when you slipped.
Yeah.
So the next week of Fontana, runner-up. So you guys are winner, runner-up, winner.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, people are paying attention now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now people are going, hey, those super guys are badass.
And we're only at the end of November 29th.
Yeah,
64.
64, and you're already making a big name.
Yep.
You know, when you win week in, week out, runner-up, all that, people are paying attention. What are those guys doing that we're not doing? And how do we beat them?
Right.
Boy, in this one we had to race Brissett and Alexander. Well, anytime you had to race Brissett,
Grab
Brissett's
your
gone.
fanny.
You
Yeah.
were in trouble.
That car was spectacular when you were a fan watching that car run because he was always on full all the way through. It was amazing.
And that was racing Brissett's, any of Brissett's cars. If you caught him in the first round, you might as well go find your trailer. 'Cause you're hitting. And as the rounds wore on, his reliability would catch up with him,
Right.
and ours just keep right on running,
Right.
pour gas in, and
Right.
go.
Yeah. Right.
And that was, if you caught him in the last round, your odds were much improved.
Yeah.
But first round,
And I think it was last round at Fontana at the MT meet in '65 on that Sunday that you won that $2,500, and that was against him.
yes. And it was unusual to see a Brissett car in the last round,
Right.
just because the parts would all be broken by that time.
Yeah. Right.
And the performances were just outstanding.
Big horsepower and big and fast, but couldn't last.
Yep.
We'd go to San Fernando, and
Mm-hmm.
he could run 8 or 10 miles an hour faster than anybody else.
Yeah.
And they'd haze them right through the lights. And the
Yes.
way San Fernando was, the pits were, about 1,000 feet down?
Yeah.
So from the pit lane where you're kind of waiting to push out for the next round or whatever, it's 1,000-foot mark, so you get to see it right out the back door.
Yeah.
Just
That was
haze-
spectacular.
Nobody could haze the tire
Yeah.
through the lights like
Agreed.
Brissett's car.
And run
Agreed.
214 or
Yeah.
something, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we have another picture. The car still looks
Yeah.
the same.
And
Yeah.
some of those homely little short, yeah.
the wing
Yeah,
supports.
Is it the short?
I don't know.
No, this is that, yeah. It's the short one, but this is that story about the Greek and us. goofing
Yes.
around, yeah. at Riverside.
Oh yeah, we'll hear that story. Read that article as far
Yeah.
as what you want to read about it. And
Well,
then we'll
it
pass
says
that
the
over.
final round of top eliminator pitted Chris, the crazy Greek, Karamessinis, against Mike Sorokin and the Surfers. Mike had Chris 2 links off the line and led all the way to win the 500. The Surfers' winning time was 7:97 and 1:89, while Chris turned in a much faster, though losing time, of 7:81 200. So Mike ran a 7:97. Is that when you didn't have enough fuel?
Yeah.
Oh, great story.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
coming
great
up.
story.
It's coming up.
We haven't. I thought we. Well,